The UFC 297 press conference just took place featuring Sean Strickland, Dricus Du Plessis, Mayra Bueno Silva, Raquel Pennington, Neil Magny, Mike Malott, Marc-Andre Barriault, Chris Curtis, Arnold Allen and Movsar Evloev, although Movsar Evloev and Marc-Andre Barriault might as well not have been there because they didn't get one question throughout the entire thing. I'm going to break down the press conference and give my reaction to it. Overall, it wasn't a bad press conference. There wasn't much heated beef on stage between the fighters like we have had in some other amazing press conferences. But I feel like the crowd and the memes of the press conference made it what it was. So it wasn't actually that bad. So Sean Strickland, let's go through it in chronological order so you know when I'm going to mention what. Starting off, everyone's walking out. The Canadian fighters, first of all, Mike Malott. I mean, Marc-Andre Barriault is Canadian as well, but Mike Malott has really got Canada behind him. He got a massive pop when he walked out to the stage. Sean Strickland comes out with a Make Canada Great Again shirt. So he's immediately looking to win over the crowd like he did in Australia when he had the press conference with Israel Adesanya. And he starts screaming, "This one's for you guys, dude. I'm going to do this for your freedom, dude." And he starts screaming at the top of his lungs about fighting for their freedom and winning back the country and all this type of stuff. So he's really winning over the Canadian crowd. And then he says that the stuff I've written down here, I'm trying to piece together why he said it, but he said, you know, he respects Dricus Du Plessis. I respect this man. He tried to get them to cheer Dricus instead of booing him at one point, and he started giving him a ton of praise. "This guy comes to fight, not Israel Adesanya, backing up the whole time, dude." And he starts screaming, "We're going to be dick to dick, nipple to nipple." I don't know why he said it in that way. There's so many other ways of saying that you're going to square off in front of each other and try and fight and scrap in the phone booth, in the pocket, face to face. There's many other ways he could have said it, but he went with dick to dick, nipple to nipple, which was interesting, but there you go. And he also told them to stop booing Dricus because as soon as Dricus starts speaking, the crowd starts booing him. Not crazily at first, but they are booing him. Strickland steps in and starts saying to give him praise because he fights like a warrior and he fights like a man and all this type of stuff. Then DDP starts encouraging the boos. Okay? He wants to booze. He did the same thing at the last press conference they had in Las Vegas as well and said, you know, you guys have got nothing on Las Vegas when it comes to booing. I want to hear it. And they start booing Dricus Du Plessis. He doesn't mind being the bad guy at the press conference. Sean Strickland's in a Canadian t-shirt. He's bigging up the crowd. Of course, he's going to be the fan favorite there. We kind of expected that. And then DDP says, you know, his focus is on the belt. A lot of people fight for money, and they were talking about fighting for money, fighting for legacy, all this. His focus is on the belt and nothing else. Mayra Bueno Silva and Raquel Pennington start going at it. They start talking trash back and forth. At first, it was only a little bit. A couple words back and forth, taking shots at each other about, you know, Raquel Pennington kept saying, "Who has she even fought?" And then Mayra Bueno Silva said something back, and Raquel Pennington, I believe, was saying, "Talk some English. We don't know what you're saying," which is such a petty way of dealing with someone who's trying to speak English as a second language while trying to trash talk you. I never like it when it's like, "We don't understand you. Talk English," because it's like, okay, that's just a cop-out because she's trying to speak your language to talk trash to you. But they got a little bit more heated later on, which I guess we can talk about as well. Then Chris Curtis gets on there. He's getting booed, but he also tries to win over the crowd himself and says, you know I'm fighting the hometown guy, but I fought in Canada a bunch. You know, this is like a second home to me. I'm used to fighting the hometown guy, and it's going to be, I think he said something like, it's always a cool moment when the crowd goes dead silent after I knock someone down and they worry about whether or not he's going to get back up. And I'm telling you, he's not going to get back up, and starts going in about all that. The crowd boos right over every single thing Neil Magny says. Mike Malott, by the way, is the Canadian Chandler. Perfect summary of who he is. Starts talking about, you know, "I'm going to do this for you. I'm so proud to big up you guys." And starts, I don't even know what accent that is that I even went for, but it's the Canadian accent. He starts talking about how proud he is to be a Canadian, and how proud he is to be fighting and representing Canada on the main stage, and how he's going to kick the door in for Canadian MMA, and all this type of stuff that he starts talking about. And the crowd's really rallying behind him. But then when Neil Magny tries to speak, he might as well not have spoke. Because I didn't hear a word he said. I tried listening to it back, and he said a generic, I'm going to do this and that. But in the moment, I'm like, I didn't hear a thing he said. The crowd is literally booing so loud over the top of him. The crowd was booing Dricus, but they still wanted to hear what he had to say as well at the press conference, because I think the crowd was expecting Dricus and Strickland to go back and forth. But with Magny, they just didn't care what he had to say at all and booed over him as soon as he opened his mouth, and I didn't hear a word he said when I was watching it live, so that was good from him. Mayra Bueno Silva, Raquel Pennington. Pennington's trashing her about, no one understands you, don't speak English, all this type of stuff. And then Mayra Bueno Silva, the based queen herself, starts saying that she puts everyone to sleep. She puts the crowd to sleep. You put everybody to sleep. All this type of stuff that she starts coming out with. And, Raquel Pennington starts going back at her. And then Mayra Bueno Silva comes out with, you put everyone to sleep, buddy. I'm going to fucking beat your fucking ass. And all this type of shit. Screaming. And they start getting heated at each other. So that was kind of cool. And you can see the other fighters on the stage kind of enjoying, like, oh, hang on a second here. The co-main event's got some heat behind it. So there's now some bad blood in the co-main event. But Mayra was saying that Raquel Pennington's fights put everyone to sleep. The crowd to sleep. Me to sleep. Everyone to sleep. So that was interesting to see. They've actually got some heat going on now. And then, in the middle of Sean Strickland doing something like, I'm fighting for you fucking guys. I'm going to fucking take home the fucking belt. I'm going to do the fucking man dance, you guys. And then a crowd member storms the stage in front of Strickland in the middle of one of his speeches that he's doing about the man dance. And then it's like a shock. I've never seen a crowd member get on the UFC stage before. And I think it speaks to how crazy the crowd actually was. Because they were going crazy. The crowd was loud. They were shouting, "Oil me up." And I'll talk about the chant that they started at one point as well. But the crowd were talking about oil him up. There's a bunch of things that could be heard from the crowd in this. So they were very, very amped up. And one of the crowd members just pops up on stage right in front of Strickland. And you could tell there was a second before everyone realized that he was just there to shake Strickland's hand. There was a second where they were like, what the fear of, like, this guy is not supposed to be on stage. Even Strickland was like, whoa, am I going to have to defend myself from this random guy? He might be an ally, you know what I mean? This might be that same reporter that I was trashing yesterday, hopping up on stage, ready to douse me with something, or maybe trying to oil up Dana. Even Dana was like, ugh, you know what I mean? He thought that was his moment, that he was finally going to get oiled up by some random guy. But instead, the guy just wanted to shake Strickland's hands. And then Strickland just jumps up, eggs the guy on, which I'm sure Dana wasn't a fan of. But he was laughing, funnily enough. I thought Dana was going to get annoyed and shut down the whole press conference. But Dana was laughing, Dricus laughing as well. Everyone was chuckling at the fact that this guy jumped up on stage. And then Sean Strickland starts going, "Let's fucking go, dude! That's what I'm fucking talking about! Let's go, Canada!" And starts screaming at the top of his lungs about Canada. Strickland's the people's champ. You can't deny it. He's the international champ. You know what I mean? You got certain fights like Dricus. He's representing South Africa hard. He's getting booed. He encourages it. He doesn't mind if the hostile territory boos him. And then you got Sean Strickland. He just wants to be the man of the people wherever he goes. And it's working well for him right now. So he's going to probably keep doing it. I think they should just take Strickland all around the world. Please bring him to the UK next, because we could do with some Strickland speeches as well. Either way, what else happened? Oh, yeah, Strickland, they settled the beef. Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis settled the beef to the fucking death. He starts standing up, shaking his hand. They both shake each other's hand in the center of the cage. At first, I was annoyed by that because I was like, damn, come on. Dricus, poke fun at him for crying or something. You know what I mean? But they've settled it. Neither one of them wanted to be the guy to start back up the beef and trash talking of each other, because they've already settled it backstage, and then they would be a hypocrite and a fake and like a fraud. You know, they'd seem quite snaky, right? If they'd have settled it backstage yesterday or wherever they were, where they shook each other's hands on embedded, going into this event, and then one of them would have started trash talking again. So neither one of them wanted to be the hypocrite or the fake. So they kept it very cordial, and they shook each other's hands, agreed on to the death, which is really, really interesting. So really looking forward to their fight. And then, a crowd member brings up Dricus Du Plessis' stamina, And one of the crowd members, by the way, looked like a black Tito Ortiz. And I saw it in the live chat when he popped up. You know who I'm talking about. Everyone knows who I'm talking about. And it was so funny to me. So that was a highlight. Even just that random crowd member appearing was just a nice, funny moment. And then Dricus answered about the stamina question. You know, he's been to decision once in the UFC. And he won it by outpacing his opponent, Brad Tavares, who we've seen go 5 rounds before. You know, he went 5 rounds with Israel Adesanya. We've seen him go the distance quite a lot in the UFC, so it's a good counter-argument, you know what I mean? Like, they call out his stamina. He had a tough first round where he ended up on bottom position immediately after a, botched takedown, pretty much. And he won the fight by outpacing Tavares in the second and third round and pushing with a crazy, crazy pace. Even though he looked tired, he just kept pushing through it. So, it was a good response. Sean Strickland says he isn't Khabib. He's here to fight. He's not going to shoot no takedowns or grapple, even though he's been wrestling just in case. He's not the type of guy who's going to shoot for takedowns, and the crowd cheers and erupts in applause for Sean Strickland there as well. Then Sean Strickland starts going, you know, fuck Colby Covington, you guys. He's a fucking coward, you guys. He doesn't fucking fight for the fucking fans, you guys. He fucking all he cares about is fucking... And his gum starts flying out of his mouth. I don't know why he chose to have chewing gum, because it starts flying out of his mouth as soon as he starts doing that. And then the crowd starts chanting, fuck Colby. Colby's he's lost. Although Colby never fought, there was still but he's a savage. And he goes out there and puts on sick fights. There was still that type of vibe, even though it might not have been true, because of the Usman fight that he had, and even the second Usman fight when he rallied back in the later rounds, and even just dominating Masvidal and beating him the way he did. There was still a vibe of this guy is a savage, though. Even though we don't like him and he hasn't fought as much, he's still a top dog and a savage and right there below the best in the world. But now it's like he's lost all respect after that Leon Edwards performance. So the crowd completely is against him. Israel Adesanya gets brought up. Dricus Du Plessis immediately shuts it down. Says he's irrelevant. He's on holiday and he can stay there. And that's true. Israel Adesanya is not, he said he wants a long time off. We don't know when he's going to be coming back. So I'm assuming none of them really want to be talking about Israel Adesanya at their press conference in their main event, giving him that spotlight. Even Strickland calls him out, says he's a coward. I didn't even have to fucking grapple him, you guys. I fucking walked him down and fucking outstruck him, you guys. And he's spitting everywhere, as I am doing now. Sean Strickland's for a guy who's about to be going through a weight cut, Sean Strickland carries a lot of energy at these press conferences, man. A lot, because he's going to have to drain a lot of weight. He still cuts weight at middleweight. I remember him fighting Brendan Allen, or not Brendan Allen. It might have been a fight after the Brendan Allen fight where he says, I don't want to do this weight cut anymore, guys. It's terrible. Maybe it was the Nasruddin Imavov one or the Cannonier fight, maybe. Who knows? But he was talking about how he does have a tough weight cut. So the fact that he's got that much energy is crazy. But good for him. Also, Strickland calls out Adesanya for being a coward. Oh, they both talk about Alex Pereira. Pereira was in the crowd. He got a pop from the crowd. They showed him on camera. DDP was talking about wanting to fight him next because he was there. The media member was asking Alex Pereira, the champion in the division above, is right here. What do you guys think about a matchup with him? Dricus was saying, once I'm done with this division, I'll be looking to take over that division as well. So, looking to fight Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira's translator is hastily trying to get the messages across to Pereira, who doesn't understand a thing that's going on other than the fact that maybe he was mentioned. And then Sean Strickland says, here's a fucking thing you guys... I can't stop doing the Strickland thing, dude. He's got such a distinct voice. Once I'm fucking done with him, you can fucking sweep him next, Alex. And starts bigging up Alex and saying that once he beats up Dricus, then Alex can beat up Dricus. Pereira, Marc-Andre Barriault and Evloev have got no questions. I guess we can talk about that at the end of this video. Marc-Andre Barriault, I feel so bad for him because Mike Malott got asked a question, and it was a question that was aimed at him and Marc-Andre. And Malott ended up speaking for about a minute long because he's the Canadian Chandler and had his whole speech. And Marc-Andre goes, okay, my turn to speak about what this means for me. My big moment. I'm a Canadian in Canada, main card of a pay-per-view, at a press conference. My family's in the crowd right now. This is my moment to speak. And a media member just steamrolls in with the next question for Mayra Bueno Silva. And it's just Okay, you know, he doesn't even get a single question. Evloev didn't get... He at least got a question, but didn't get to answer it. Evloev did not get a question. And that's something else I want to talk about with this. It was so short. Maybe it was because Dana saw the crowd was getting really riled up and like, oh, I don't want to get oiled up right now. You know what I mean? Let me delay this as long as possible. Because the crowd was chanting, oil him up during the Arnold Allen versus Movsar Evloev face-off. So Dana was feeling the pressure. Like, I think he could see people in the crowd shaking a bottle of oil at him, you know what I mean? And saying, and like, you know, putting a bit of oil into their hands. He could see crowd members doing this and squirting oil into their hands and looking at him menacingly. So I think Dana wanted out of there immediately, you know? He wanted out of there immediately. So it was like an 18-minute press conference where normally they're like half an hour, 25. So we should have had more time. Got a question to Evloev and Arnold Allen again. Back to Strickland and Du Plessis maybe. But it is what it is. You can't have it all at a press conference. Face-offs. What is there to say about the face-offs? Pretty cordial. People are going to say, and I even said this, oh, Strickland's back to the classic Strickland face-off, because for the previous one with Dricus that he just had, he was staring right at him face to face, and I was like, this is a different Strickland. But now he's back to classic Sean Strickland, nervous, doesn't want to make eye contact, looking off to the side. A lot of people are going to read into that body language-wise, but that's just the way Sean Strickland does face-offs. The same people were saying after the Adesanya face-off, Strickland all talk, but terrified of Adesanya face-to-face. Strickland's the same way against everybody he's ever faced off with. He's always got nervous energy, looking off to the side. I don't even think it's nervous energy. I think he just finds the whole face-off concept very cringe. And then Arnold Allen, Evloev, the oil him up chants start kicking off in the crowd. Shout out to the Canadian crowd for that. And other than that, that was about it. Mike Malott is as tall as Neil Magny, which I was shocked by. So something's going on there, because they ain't supposed to be the same height, but Mike Malott was as tall as him. So I'm a little bit more confident in Mike Malott. I thought the range was going to be a problem, but he's as lanky as Neil Magny, it seems. So that was interesting. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip. See you later. Goodbye. It was a good press conference, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. Even though it wasn't heated beef and people getting into scraps on stage, it was a very memeable press conference, and I'm hyped for the fights this weekend. Looking forward to them. Even Mayra Bueno Silva, Raquel Pennington now has some heat on the line, which we didn't really know about before. See you later. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.